All right, welcome back under the rug. And today we are going to be discussing a topic that may be a bit touchy for a lot of Bahamians because we know this is a very religious, or I shouldn't even say religious. It's a very Christian nation because Christianity pretty much dominates in this country the religion, and we call ourselves a quote unquote Christian nation. But like I said, we know a lot better than that. We have a lot of hypocrites in this country. They preach one thing and they live a completely different way. But they love to preach to other people and tell them how they should live their lives when they're not themselves doing it. And so we may mash a lot of corns. Should we may mash our own corns in this conversation because it is very touchy and people tie their whole existence and their whole being to their religious belief. And so it does get touchy when you talk about certain things. And so I'm welcome to it. Ira says, hello, where is Chrissy Love? Well, guess what, Ira? Your guess is as good as mine. I called her. Jay was here when I was trying to call her. I called her at least 4 times. She didn't answer. I sent her the link to the show already. So like I said, hopefully Chrissy joins us shortly. Maybe something came up because, it's not like Chrissy to miss the show. She is usually... Say again?
Chrissy ducking, man.
I think she ducking, man. Chrissy is, Chrissy usually here every week. So I can't... Her track record is very, very good. So I cannot say that she ducking. I have to assume that something important came up because, like I said, her track record is immaculate. And she's
usually... the fish fry. That's the last time I see her.
Said what was the last time?
Oh, by the fish fry. That's the last place I saw.
You got jokes. Garrett Jones says, hello, watching from the UK. Well, listen, Garrett, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Could have been anywhere in the world today, but you're here with us, and we appreciate you for joining us. Like I said, continue to share your views on the topic. Cooper says it's a practicing Christian nation. Really, Cooper? Now we gotta ask. Now, are you sure? Are we practicing, or are we only practicing the aspects of Christianity that we subscribe to, and not the other ones? So that's where the discussion is going to be. Which aspects are we practicing, Kyron? Because when I look at people's lives and what they say, complete opposites.
I think it's just a label that we've become familiar with because we are obviously in the Western world and Christianity is our predominant faith. So it's a label that just quote unquote stuck. And it's one of those one that you could pull on as a amount of convenience. It fits in everything, Oh, we're a praying nation. We're a faithful nation. God is in our constitution, blah, 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 blah. But when you look at practicing or faithfully, I don't think so. Because a lot of the characteristics of a quote unquote good Christian, a lot of people fall short on. But again, they say people ain't perfect, and we all fall short on the grace of God and all this other bullshit.
Isn't it amazing how those lines just come so natural when you grow up in this country? They force you to go to church so much. You just start reciting those things almost subconsciously. You don't even realize you're saying it, number. You know what I mean? They really hammer home and brain what we call it, brain sludge you. I don't like to call it brainwash because wash means to clean. And what I think they are doing is dirtying your mind with these beliefs. So I don't even call it brainwash no more. It's brain sludging. And they hammer it from birth. And for those of you that watch the show on a regular or listen to the show on a regular, my gripes with my daughter's school and the struggles that I go through with her, because my daughter could recite all kind of prayers and all kind of gospel songs, but she having trouble with the actual school work. So that to me is a problem. I sent her there to be educated about, math, English, writing in the sciences, and she is being educated on the Christian gospel songs and the prayers, and she knows those like the back of her hand. So, that's an issue for me. But let's talk about why I wanted to discuss this today. And Jay, what happened last week was, as I do, I tend to tune into a bunch of talk shows, throughout the day because I want to, stay up to, what's going on in my country and where my people are mentally. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? I like to be in touch with my nation. And so I was listening to some shows, right? And I just happened, she reached. Okay. I was listening to some shows and I happened to come across this show. Christina,
Gregory, Jay.
now
Hey,
like I tell the good people, I know something had to happen because it ain't like you to be missing.
I
Jay said you
know.
was lucky, but I know that wasn't the case because you have an immaculate record when it comes to the show. You are here always.
Oh, is that shade to Jay?
I accept no such shit because I go and
No,
listen
no,
in a
this
minute.
show. It's just that every now and then life just get in the way. But I hear.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I late, but I hear.
Yes, ma'am, and we appreciate it. But like I was explaining, and I don't know if you know the topic, Chrissy, but we talking about a biblical buffet and how Bahamians love to cherry pick voices of the Bible to support their positions or whatever it is that they want, whatever point they're trying to prove, they can find out one verse that speaks to that position. And I was saying what made me want to speak about this is I heard a discussion about, marital rape tends to pop in the conversation as of recent time and again in between the Obans and the other topics you have, marital rape just pop in every now and again. And I heard a lady who was discussing it, and I think either she's a pastor or married to a pastor. They were talking about, marriage and all of that good stuff. And, apparently I found out that, listen, Christians own marriage. Marriage is something that is solely sanctioned by God, and it's God rules that you have to abide by. If you decide to get married, only God rules because Christianity owns marriage. You understand? So I was like, hold on. So what about us atheists or Muslims or Buddhists? Like we not supposed to get married? Then we can't partake in this joining of this union. We're not supposed to get married because we ain't Christian.
Sarcasm.
But she was,
your table.
but she was going to those go-to verses, what's in 1 Corinthians, and back to the point, it had to do with marital rape, and she was against marital rape, as many Bahamian women are. They are against women being able to say that their husbands raped them. They don't believe that is possible, and they often go, and it's not just her. There was a caller on a different show. It's like I heard a few women last week go to Corinthians to the part where it says you are not you don't own your own body. Essentially, this isn't a direct quote, but you don't own your own body, meaning women and men. You don't own your own body. Your wife own your body, and your husband own your body. And this is what they were going to. And I was like, you think they read that part of Corinthians where they say a woman ain't supposed to speak in church? Because that's in the same book. But they don't talk about that one. And so that was a prime example of the cherry picking that people do when they want to prove a point or get their position or their feeling across. Because in the very same book, it states that women you're all supposed to be quiet. And Chrissy, I don't know if you do this, but you better make sure your head cover when you pray. You understand? You better
period ain't on.
You better. Oh, exactly. So again, this is also in Corinthians. So which parts of the Bible do you subscribe to? Which parts do you not subscribe to? Because they only choose these ones. So, Chrissy, what are your thoughts on cherry picking Bahamians?
Well, first of all, not just hold on, let me sip this tea first.
Boy, look at Keitra saying, why that look like Hennessy and Chrissy cup?
That look like Bailey's or something.
It's tea. Not just Bahamians cherry pick. And again, I come to all these conversations in the skin I'm in as a Black female woman from the Americas, in particular the Caribbean. And I just have a huge problem with how we just believe Christianity. Now, if you're Christian, that's good for you. Keitra, I love you too. If you're Christian and you want to believe that, that's good for you. But I just hope that Christianity, especially among Bahamians, could make sense. I don't understand the nonsensical. Why is it if I'm a Christian, I must abandon all thinking and logic? I don't get that. And I don't understand this whole, you belong to your husband. Back in the day, again, I have a problem with the Bible as a woman. Remember the story of the woman who was stoned for adultery?
Because that's what you're supposed to do. Listen, Chrissy.
Why they only stone her though? Did she fuck herself? Well, she did, but...
Well, I don't know. Did they go into details of the intercourse?
Oh, no, they don't even mention the man. But the woman is the Bible.
Of course. Because the Bible was written by men.
The Bible, again, has been interpreted and translated so many times. Just like how in slavery, they used to whip our asses with the scripture taped to their body. Remember that wonderful scene in 12 Years a Slave? So we've always been cherry picking because Christianity is one religion that I must say, as a Bahamian, I understand why we love Christianity, because Christianity allows you to mess up. Oh, I sorry, Jesus. Mess up. Oh, I sorry, Jesus. Mess up. So who want to be a part of that religion? You could be an asshole and just say, "Oh, I miss." So I don't blame them. I see the attraction, but then if you want to live a life that's truthful, I don't know how you could subscribe to that.
Exactly, Jay.
I totally agree 100% with Chrissy with no rebuttal.
Look at Chris.
Seriously, I think Christianity is one of those contradictory faiths. It took me a while to understand and to look at it. As a black person, I can't subscribe to it anymore because it supports and condones slavery. One of the most heinous crimes against anybody, black, white, male, female, or whatever. So you have to look at it is for what it is. It's a book of control. While it does have some elements to help guide us on how we could be good to each other, there are levels of mind control in there. And it has lived up to that purpose. It is very, very divisive as it is unifying. So it's a very, very dangerous religion. I try now to stay as far away from it as possible.
Really? So you mean to tell me you don't own your wife body? Now you're a married man.
I don't.
You're married.
I do.
You don't own your wife body, Jay?
No, I do not.
But according to the Corinthians, you own your wife body and your wife own your body.
Who wrote Corinthians?
Say again.
I think, wasn't it Paul?
Exactly.
Was it Paul? Who was unmarried?
That Paul's character is such that he can't talk to me about shit. It's like David writing the Psalms. David is a man who saw a piece of crabby on the battlefield, killed the man and Tiffy wife, and you telling me about God. Sit your ass down, David. Christianity does just gall me.
But saying all of that though, Chrissy, you still identify as a Christian.
Yes, I am. Because again, Greg, like I tell you, and whenever we have these shows, I'm not as self-assured as you are to break free from the mama brainwashing. See, I love Christianity because, again, I see Wilfred Stanley Coakley beating his chest in St. Agnes. I see my grandmother shaking the pew in Zion. So I still identify with it because, like Jay said, there are some beliefs in Christianity that are in other religions as well. You know, love of yourself.
The common thread, yeah.
And be kind to the earth, be kind to others. So there are some tenets of Christianity, but it's the man-made dogma where they pull it out they ass that I don't understand. Like I tell you, luckily I went to Israel and I was told that, you know, I had to pray on the other side. I couldn't be around the men. And apparently if you were bleeding at the time, you shouldn't even be around men in prayer.
That's very Old Testament. That's very Old Testament.
So a lot of people are very Old Testament, but Bahamians, even though they say they believe in the new, I think Bahamians are very Old Testament Christians while they eating pork chop.
Well, they Old Testament when it's convenient, because if you pull a verse from the Old Testament that they don't like, you know what the common excuse is. But that's Old Testament.
And like, that covenant finish. We in the new covenant.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard that one too.
Bahamians do say that a lot.
So it's like whatever is convenient. And it's like, okay, so if we throw out the Old Testament, then how we get you? Do you no longer believe in Adam and Eve? Do you no longer believe in the talking snake and the fruit on the tree? Is all of that gone? Because that's Old Testament too. So
Fred, how you describe it make it sound stupid.
No, you know what it was for me that caused me to like totally move away from it. It was this one word that I found in the New Testament when they were talking about Abraham and all that stuff. Apparently that was all an allegory. And if you know what an allegory is, you would understand, and if you follow the line. So if Abraham was an allegory, made up story, that means his entire line doesn't exist.
So Christianity, Islam, and Judaism don't exist. All right, Jay, way to go. Religion.
It's a story. It's a fire camp story.
You know what?
That's why I tell people all the time. Listen,
Christian.
To me, the Bible is a book. I look at the Bible just like I look at Lord of the Rings, the Three Little Pigs, the Harry Potters. Like it's a book. It's a
You did
book.
not put Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and the Three Little Pigs in this.
Greg,
What? What I do?
stop it.
It's the truth. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Do you not have similar circumstances in these stories? Let's look at Harry Potter and the Bible.
So in the Bible, who's Voldemort? Say
You got talking donkeys, you got talking snakes, you got forbidden fruits, you got spells, you have the great god up in the sky that controls all. It sounds just like Harry Potter.
Use your heart, Gregory. You're using your intellect. Use your heart.
I'm sorry, but my brain is not in my chest. It's in my head, and I use it to think. I don't use it to feel for these things. If it don't make sense, it don't make sense, and there's no way you can convince me that it makes sense. Now, for those that approach it that way and say, I use this as a guide. I take the good things out of it. I don't really believe it literally. I don't think that the donkey, got fed up with the man beating the donkey and started to talk to him. I don't really believe that happened, but the story itself taught me a certain lesson. Now, if you approach it that way, then we good money. You understand? Okay, I get you. I get it. You took the story and you took the good part of the story and you applied it to your life to be a better person. All fine and dandy. Now, when you're trying to tell me that these are actual events and you reporting this like you was on the scene, then we have a problem.
Greg,
Because people love to do that.
you believe in the talking donkey and Shrek? So why the donkey can't talk in the Bible?
Who believe in the talking donkey and Shrek?
I believe that donkey was, I believe that. I
Which
believe
one?
the mythical land of ogres and fairies. These things can I believe those things can happen. You start talking jackass. The house just met the other day.
Barry say, yo, someone gets smote. I think he means smite.
Yeah, for real. That's Greg. But Greg, when you went to your grandfather's funeral just recently,
Yes.
you didn't feel a sense of comfort in the church?
No. Why would I? I was dressed in a hot black suit. At least the AC was working. So I felt the comfort because the AC was working. Yeah. So I mean, if you mean that the AC was working right, I wasn't too jam up. So I was quite comfortable, to be honest with you.
You know what? I understand what Chrissy is trying to say.
Thank you, Jay.
My great aunt just died a few weeks ago. And I went to a 7-day Adventist church. I was a 7-day Adventist. So I don't think the comfort. I think the comfort that we quote unquote mistaken or label as the Holy Spirit and all that stuff. I think it generally comes from a genuine emotion that people emit during grieving. I think that we were all gathered in one place to remember a special person, and we were talking about the good times, how she smiled and all this other stuff. So that common feeling from that positive energy just filled the room.
Hey, and you know what's so wonderful? You could get that feeling without religion. You are capable of getting that without religion, my brother. You don't need religion for that.
But it's a different feeling.
Well,
Even though Christianity, especially we as black people, and we all know that the Bible was used to, like Jay said, control us. So I do admit my problem. I'm ambivalent when it comes to Christianity. And I talk to my priest about this all the time. I am very ambivalent about it. But then again, my priest is Iron Philly Brown. So we know, hey. So
what it is, listen.
There's always going to be that ambivalence, because God is something and church and religion and cherry picking is what we do, because Christianity is what we all grew up believing. And so sometimes, just like how we talk about breaking away from toxic family members, it is difficult to break away from what you've been taught all these years. It's a breaking your base, your foundation.
Yeah, power tradition. Let me read a couple of comments. Cooper says, I think we each are born with an inner religion. We each have an inner unction, I guess that's function, to be better and do good and choose what is right. We have an internal compass, and there is no need for religion, really. It is unnamed, and we as humans are trained to give everything a name. That is where we find comfort. That is why we are so impressed with religion. It gives us humans a name.
Oh, I like that. That's
it's something we could point to and identify. You know what I mean?
Like, for example, right? Bahamians will cherry pick out this Bible, right?
Mm.
Okay, Bahamians will cherry pick out this Bible, right? Like, you have preachers who preach in the gospel every Sunday in the Bahamas, okay? But they sweetheart in one row and they wife in the next.
Of course.
So the thing is, the cherry picking is real. We see it every day. Like we see, for example, there was a big scandal in my church where the bishop's granddaughter had a child out of wedlock. You know that there's certain things. We are hypocrites and flawed as human beings. And so the cherry picking is something that we're used to seeing. That's why nobody really talks about it because it's accepted.
Mm-hmm.
You remember
See,
that with the preacher?
Barry say music does it for him. So he don't use religion, he's used music. I don't know if that's Vibes Cartel or what kind of music that is Barry is listening to get. Eddie, I think that's what that means. Eddie Sanders says life was going on way before these Bible stories. Agreed.
Okay,
said,
the Bible is just a collection of poems, letters, psalms, and all this other stuff. And over a course of time, where you see a lot of the contradiction, the Bible was not easily accessible to common folk. So it was dictated. So if they read something, or at this point in time, I needed a certain level of control, I'm in power. So I'm going to write something in there, and they're going to believe because it's coming from this holy book.
Yep, Gregory the Great. Sorry, Greg, your namesake, Gregory the Great.
Oh, I thought you mean me just now. I was like, oh, you should love Chrissy. You're so sweet. Thank you.
You know, he just picked the things that he wanted to put in Catholicism. And now I don't want to bring it to denominations, but, you know, religion has always been something that man has relied on for comfort, but it is flawed just by the very fact that it's created by man, who himself or herself is a flawed creature.
Mm-hmm.
So cherry picking to me is normal. Like the Bahamas, we so Christian, but 70% of the children born out of wedlock. All right. We so Christian. We ain't supposed to be juicing. We don't. We have to be honest in the conversation. I think that's what we don't do because it's so much easier to bullshit yourself.
And we so Christian, we praying and waste tongues on other people.
Oh, you see that, Jay?
Mm-hmm.
It is unction. Unction
What
is.
Learn me something today.
It's one of the 7 sacraments.
Oh, see, I didn't know. I thought that was a.
Grew up in church.
My bad, Cooper. I apologize.
Greg, I don't know what church. Look here, Greg. I know your family. How you get so anti-Christian?
Listen,
I know Alrina spinning in her grave on a rotisserie stick right now.
Listen, I grew up in the church just like all of the rest. I grew up in the church too. You understand? But it just never made sense to me. I was like, wait, I was fighting with it my whole life. I was like, wait, how could this thing be right? This is not lining up with anything that is actual reality. How can you all expect me to buy this? And it was always conflicting until I got to a point where I was adult and you could do things for yourself. You're taking care of yourself to where you don't have to subscribe to it. You don't have to go to church because they're forcing you no more because it don't make sense. I don't buy it. Now, again,
some makes sense, not all. Some.
I mean, well, again, yeah, you're right. Some things do make sense. Some things are applicable. Some things are good. But like Jay just said, there are a lot of contradictions. You understand? So that one good thing, that for almost every one good thing, there's a bad thing. You understand? And you know what and like you were saying, most of the children in this country born out of wedlock, right? This is one of the most juicinest nations in the world. But what is the penalty for sex without marriage?
Stoning.
Death.
Yeah, stoning.
Yes.
The Old Testament. But the thing is, the examples of stoning with regard to adultery and sexual misconduct only fall on women in the Bible. See, that is my problem.
Mm-hmm.
It only
falls
on women.
Yeah, you all have the misfortune of being born with a vagina and breasts.
Yeah.
Which one was low, women or slaves?
Yeah, and even in our religion, do you remember? Well, y'all kind of young, but when the Anglican Communion wanted to let Angela Palacios become a priest, those people in the Anglican Church, I tell you, to this day, I just don't acknowledge some of them because they shame me how they carry on so stink.
I remember that.
To be a priest.
I was young, but I remember that.
Bahamians carried on like natural jackasses.
Yeah. Deto says, name a contradiction. Let me tell you something, Deto. Here's what we can do, Deto. When you come to Nassau, we can do a special show. We can dedicate a whole show to contradictions because you know what? Because you know what you can say? I'll name one, and then all you can say is, but you're taking it out of context.
Yeah. So
that's what we can do. When we can have a full discussion, Deto, hit me up when you get Nassau, and let's do an entire show on biblical contradictions. That way, you can explain to me.
Deto.
Go ahead, Chrissy.
I know you long time. I know you when you was in your mommy belly. Deto, how you get so uber Christy? Not Enrica ain't like that. I thought Deto got so uber Christy. I would like to know. And if I'm overstepping, tell me, Chrissy, shut the fuck up.
Okay, I have some.
Go ahead, Jay.
All right, so in Genesis 1, 3 to 5, on the first day God created light, then separated the light from darkness. And then following, he said in 14 through 19, the sun wasn't created until the fourth day. So if the sun wasn't created until the fourth day, what the fuck was the light separating light from darkness?
Oh, that's
and that's on a superficial level at the beginning. Yes. So at the beginning, if it's contradictory, imagine all the way to the end.
Yes. So Deto, you could rebut that one, Deto, if you care to. Cooper says religion is not tangible, it's strange, it's conflicting, it's confusing, it's manipulative. But the thing that we keep search for is interpretation. As humans, we want more. That's just how we developed as people.
I got another one for you.
Go ahead, Jay.
All right, so in Genesis 7 and 1, Noah was righteous. In Job 1 and 8, and then Job 2 and 3, Job was righteous. Zachariah, Elizabeth was righteous. Then in the New Testament, in Roman and in John's 8 to 10, no one all is righteous.
True? It's been so long.
So again, Deto, if you would like to, Jay just gave a couple examples of contradictions. If you
There's
would
a
like
wknow list. Oh my God!
I know it's a lot, and I would have pulled them up, but I doing so much with this program, I can't pull them up. So this is why I'd like to have a full discussion with Deto. But go ahead and combat those ones or rebut those ones. And Chrissy, Deto says adultery was met with stoning to both man and woman.
Well, I must see. I didn't read that. I guess I didn't interpret that correctly because all my life growing up in St. Agnes Sunday School and in Zion Baptist Church Sunday School and Bethel Baptist, where Greg Good Grammy used to go, we were always told that the woman had the stoning issue. The woman had the issue of blood. The woman was the woman, Lord, the woman you send me.
The pastor was cherry picking to tell you all what he wanted you all to know.
I got a big one on divorce.
Go ahead, Jay.
A man can divorce his wife simply because she displeases him, and both he and his wife can remarry. That's Deuteronomy. That's the Old Testament. In Mark, it says divorce is wrong, and to remarry is to commit adultery.
That's right. Because even the church, you couldn't marry as a divorcee. You couldn't get remarried in the church.
That's true. I remember that too, Chrissy.
Let me be disgusting. Until Michelle Penland teeth that woman husband and get married.
Oh.
Well, Deto.
God says, I think stoning's still going on today. Well, maybe in some parts of the world, stoning may still be going on. You're absolutely right.
In Arabic
it is. Yeah. Actually, it is.
It is.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, to me, religion isn't even the worst. Christianity isn't the worst of the religions. I mean, listen, and I don't Muslims, those hardcore devout. Woo, boy, look here. Woo, like you say, what you had to do when you went to a dominant Muslim country. They really don't play with that. You understand? They really dedicated, and boy, it's to the detriment in a lot of ways. And like, again, just like Christianity, Islam also has some good parts of it, but it also has some incredibly terrible parts, and it's very oppressive, just like Christianity, but I think a bit more oppressive, especially when it comes to women. Oh man, super oppressive. So I just don't get religion, to be honest with you. It doesn't make sense. But hey, if you want to subscribe to it, that's up to you. But don't try to impose that on other people.
Good.
There's a difference between creating light and creating a source of light. Okay.
That's like I in Miami.
Let me read that. Let's break that down. There's a difference between creating light and creating a source of light. Now, let me ask you all individually. Chrissy, does that sound like that makes sense?
Deto.
Mr. Johnson, does that sound like that makes sense? Be honest.
Nope.
Light is light.
And Barry is asking Deto to explain. I want you to explain that one, Deto, because that don't make sense to me. It really don't make sense to me. Maybe you smarter than all us. Please explain. What do you mean? Okay.
Deto believes. It's what you believe.
But that's my thing. This is where there's a problem. Okay, you believe, fine. But don't let your belief make you delusional to where you lose all sense and logic. It's like, don't get to that point.
But that's what for example, that's what you're supposed to do. If I believe, and I grew up saying this all my life, I believe in God, the Father Almighty. But a lot of us who grew up in church, for example, when you take Holy Communion, a lot of Bahamians believe that. Now, I used to always ask Father Thompson, so are we savages? A lot of blood, sorry about that. I don't know why Erica calling me when she know the day is Thursday. Anyway, a lot of people believe the body and blood is actually the actual body and blood. See, a lot of times we take these things so literally that it cannot make sense, because anyone with sense know that is impossible.
See, and I don't know if Kindora is being facetious here, but she says, Chrissy, everything on the woman because Eve eat the apple and sweet up Adam to eat it too. So that's why
friggin' cook then, nigga.
That's why y'all being punished, Chrissy. Y'all shouldn't have eat the apple, and you shouldn't have gone ahead and convinced Adam to eat the apple.
They tell me that's the last time a woman actually decided what she wanted to eat.
Jay, you ought to order. You ought to order, Jay.
I think I agree with that one.
A couple days.
Sandy says, when you divorce, the first wife has top dibs on husband's estate. Only first wife recognized in probate.
That's true. That's a law. That's a law that we have here. But
really? Well, how come my mommy gets so grind in her divorce then?
Someone gets swing.
Wife, I forget. The first wife. Yeah, I forget. That's true. Our divorce laws are stupid though.
Yeah. We have a lot of crazy laws. Gendora says religion is one of the number one influences of war. Okay, yeah.
But a lot of wars have been waged on religion.
Yeah. I think more recently is over finances and resources more so recently. But yeah, religion does play a huge role in wars. Deto says, send him the link, Jay. Send me the link. That's what Deto say. Deto say, please send him the link. He don't believe you, Jay. He don't believe us. We making these things up. It ain't there.
I could call the scripture and then he could go read it in his King James version.
I quote the scripture.
I got it on Google.
And you can find there's whole classes about contradictions in the Bible.
Yes. All you have to do, and this is what happened is a lot of people don't like to research the other side. Deto, here's what to do, Deto. And this might help you in your arguments because now you can find a way to argue them. Go ahead and go to Google, it's google.com, and go ahead and type in Bible contradictions. 2 words. Bible contradictions. Inconsistencies, contradictions, whatever you want to choose. Go ahead and type it in, and you can do the research, and you will see them all right there. Elizabeth says some things only God can explain. When Jesus died on the cross, his blood covered our sins. When we ask for forgiveness, that doesn't mean we are supposed to keep sinning. You hear that, Christian?
That sounds like a true believer.
But you do. Christians are the biggest friggin', at least one, I know my friends who are Muslim or Jewish, they don't seem to get as many passes as Christianity. Christianity just give you a bly. Hey, Sandy, Christianity's give you a bly to do the most crazy things.
Yep.
And so Christians stay sinning.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, we all sin.
Stay sinning.
But my thing is,
I could say thank you, Lord.
Died for our sins, then we're supposed to be free, right? Wasn't that the purpose?
He became his death. He became the true light of the way. So you have to, instead of having a priest pray for your sins and sacrifice a lamb, you could go directly through him. That's how it was explained to me. So it ain't a free pass for all. I think
you can't be an asshole.
No, you can't. You can't, right? But listen. I'm not a Christian. I don't identify as Christian. I identify as a spiritual person. I think every human being has an inner desire to believe in something, whether believe in yourself and your logic or some
higher power,
unknown being, right? Higher power, whatever you want to call it, laws of the universe. We are all energies. We could call ourselves God. Kanye kind of had it right a little bit.
Oh Lord.
So it is not right.
I think you
into this?
Jay, I think you need to talk to Uncle about that because he was picking sin on Facebook saying he was arguing religion versus spirituality, and he was saying your spiritual people ain't got no real rules or guidelines. So he said religion is better than spirituality. So you need to talk to Uncle about that.
Me and him was vibing about that.
Spirit, we should treat others with respect. We should have respect for the earth. People have differences, and it's fine. I'm not gonna go there and murder someone. I'm not gonna go and try and take someone else's wife. And seeing the same laws that govern religion, most religions, the same general thread spiritual people believe in. It's just that the fact that I'm not gonna take my Bible and beat you over the head and drag you in my church and say, listen to this, or you could go to hell, or you could go to heaven, or what's not. And a lot of people don't read the Bible for themselves, because if you did, you would know that hell isn't a real place. It's not a for everlasting torture. Like, it doesn't work like that. It's a temporary place for cleansing of this earth. Like, you have to actually read it. And a lot of people just take and thank you, and then go home, eat duppy, and then that's that.
Yeah. They go at what people tell them, essentially. Cooper says, and lastly, we are allowed to critique and question Christianity or any faith. I have wanted to study Judaism and Buddhism for a long time, and I didn't until I came to college. But I believe that religion, and particularly the Christian aspect, is a part of our fiber as Bahamians. We've been immersed in it, and we live by a formula even when we don't realize it. It goes beyond the walls of church and even fills our thinking, our intellect, our dialect. How me, okay, maybe, is this right? How me define our humanity? Okay. It's,
humanity? That's supposed to be, I think.
Yeah.
But it's scintillating to how conformed we are.
It's not. There's nothing wrong with what he said. I think he's absolutely right. And it's because we're a product of slave and colonization. Like, it's simple. Like, if the Muslim world had dominated the Western world, we would be Muslims.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's all about where you were born, which family you were born to, and that's what amazes me. Like, people are so hardcore and dedicated and die hard with this thing. But if you were born in Pakistan, you would have probably been Muslim. If you were born in India, you would probably been Hindu. If you understand, you know what I mean. So it's I don't get it, man. But I guess that's the power of tradition. And the power of trust, and people just trusting in their parents and their loved ones.
Yes, your parents, Greg. Greg, for example, to this day, and I proved this the other day, I went to a church, and I admit I am brainwashed. And again, I am such a brainwashed Anglican/Catholic. After I hear two bells, I automatically put them hooks up. I automatically cross myself.
Yeah.
Church. You grow up, look at Jay, look at me like I'm crazy.
No. I was reading the definition of religion. Sorry.
You cross yourself. So, like I said, I understand this need to pick what I want to prove my point. That is the whole basis of what you are taught to do as Christians. Go out and preach the gospel. Go out and proselytize everybody. Go out and convert everybody. That's why Chinese people, Christians right now, because people go out and proselytize and convert other people. That is what we are taught. Spread the gospel of Jesus. Spread it.
All the world.
Go tell everyone. So it's what we have been programmed to do.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Chris. Do you remember the whole promise before the ascension, after all that other stuff? He said, "Go and preach to all the world, and then I won't return until it's already done." Right.
Right.
In this age of technology, Christianity is everywhere. Like, people went into the lion den, all that other stuff. Don't you think at this point in time, Christianity is a worldwide phenomenon?
Yes, it is. But Jay, again, and I make a joke about this. If you were Jesus, would you come back to this bullshit? If you were the Son of Man, would you really come back? When you look at human beings and you look at the state of the world, I mean the globe now, not just us Bahamians, even in the Bahamas, when you look at us, I mean, would you really come back? I don't think the word been spread far and wide yet.
That remind me of that episode of the Boondocks. Remember when Martin Luther King came back?
We shiftless Negroes. That was a good episode.
Well, hey, look at that was a good friggin' show, boy. My goodness.
I think in 100 years our kids are going to be repent now. He's gonna soon come back. Like I think it's just one of those things that is in the fiber of humanity, and you can't wash it out. But
Rich, Rich, he tell me send him the link. I say what? Like I can send you the link now. Deto, you gotta explain to us now.
hey, yourself.
And what it
Different
is?
life situation. Now all us are puzzled. Like I say, you might be smarter than all of we. Explain that light comment, please.
Okay, first, we have multiple sources of light. You get light from fire, a light bulb, so on and so forth. The story of Genesis, the first two chapters the first chapter explained the order in which God created the world and the things in which he created. So when he said he created light, he created what light was, the essence of what light is. And he separated from the darkness, so we have light and darkness. Now, on the fourth day, when he created the sun, he created a constant source for that light.
Okay.
All right. Where Chrissy going?
I know my connection must he dropped just now. But Antonio Brown says y'all suffering from lack of knowledge. Listening to y'all is sad. I respect y'all as Bahamians, but y'all don't know who y'all are biblically. Well, listen, Antonio, as Deto just did, as you see, if you have a point of view and you feel like we are so misinformed, please come on and inform us.
You know what I gotta say to that? Even though I may not agree with what you just said, that actually kind of makes sense in a limited. So at least you took the time to try and make it your own. You know what I mean? Some people just blindly would look at it, won't try to formulate an opinion, try to think about it, and have no real defense to their faith. And that's the unfortunate and sad part about it, Mr. Whoever that Antonio Brown person is.
No, I mean, when you read the Bible say always be able to give a reasoned defense for your faith. And a lot of people in the Bahamas, they do go to church, they raised in a certain way, and they don't know what the Bible says. They don't read it, they don't study it. I've read probably 90% of the Bible. I haven't studied the whole thing. I am in the process of studying it to understand it fully. And I still haven't have a full understanding of everything in it, but it's a constant process. I mean, just with anything you do, you want to learn to do something. I mean, you don't just pick up and be great at it. You got to study and understand what it is you're doing.
Sure.
Okay,
part, don't quit.
But let me ask you a question though, Deto. And I respect that, and the reason why I respect is because you are actually putting in the effort to learn it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You taking the time to do it. A lot of people don't take that time. They just hear what someone tells them and they go with that as gospel. Yeah. And I like you are actually going out there and taking the time to read it for yourself, come to an understanding for yourself. I could appreciate that. You know what I mean? Now, we could disagree on stuff on it, but at least you are taking the time to try and understand it for yourself. Now, let me ask you this question. Do you believe the things that are in the Bible, do you believe that they are literal? Like these are actual events that took place?
Everything in the Bible? No. A lot of it, yes. There are different books in the Bible that have like the Song of Solomon. That's poetry. Psalms, poetry. Proverbs is Proverbs. You have historical books in the Bible where you have Kings and Chronicles, where it goes down and chronicles the different. Okay, you had this king and he had this son and he was the king for this long. Like that's history, right? And then you have other stories in the Bible, like when Jesus came about, Jesus spoke parables. Those weren't actual things that happened, like the prodigal son. That wasn't something that happened. That was a story he gave to get a point across. So it's coming into context, coming into who wrote the book, and the context in which they wrote the book. I mean, you go to a bookstore today and you pick up a book and you start reading it. Is a way in which the author writes the book that lets you know that, okay, was this literal? Was this something that actually happened? Is it fantasy? Is it a self-help book? So on and so forth. People take the Bible all together and say, oh, it's the Bible, but not realizing that it's the Bible, not the Catholic Bible, Chrissy, But the standard Bible that you go and pick up, it has 66 books written by I think is over 26 different authors.
So, Mike, I asked that question because a lot of people take it literal, right? And that's where I have an issue. But how do you differentiate what makes you say, well, this is literal and this isn't? Well, you know what? Let me ask a better question. Which parts of the Bible do you take literally?
And again, like you said, you have Song of Solomon. That's not literal to me. I think Genesis is literal. The first 5 books, the Torah, is literal.
You think the whole serpent talking in the garden with the fruit, you believe that all of these things actually took place?
Oh, yes. And I will tell you why. Because one, if I first believe that God created this planet and he created us, we also are, scientifically, we are mammals, right? We could speak, we could converse. Why couldn't he make another animal able to do that same thing?
Okay, so taking that logic, right? Have we ever in the history of mankind had a serpent speak?
Have we ever in the history of mankind had a serpent speak? Not that I know of in terms of scientifically proving it, but after Genesis, serpents could not speak. But,
so my question is why, like, this is my thing with Christians that truly believe things in the Bible literally. How can you, or why do you believe things without scientific evidence? Like, why would you subscribe to certain things that you've never heard of and has never been proven to be true? Why would you believe something that's not been proven to be true?
Scientifically speaking, you have things in the Bible, like the serpent. In the book of Genesis, it said that it's alluded to that the serpent had legs. And then God cursed the serpent and said, for the rest of his life, he'll crawl on his belly, right? You have scientists that have found snakes, and under the skin, they have leg appendages that are no longer used.
Okay.
Was that evolution?
No, I've seen that article. That's true.
I agree, but that ain't the question. The question is the legs aspect. The question is the speaking and convincing someone to do something that they shouldn't do aspect. That's where it goes off of the edge for me.
What do you mean convincing them something they shouldn't do?
The one that convinced Eve to convince Adam to eat the forbidden fruit?
But you have women who's convinced man to do all kind of things now.
It's the serpent. Huh? I don't have an issue with the word. It's the serpent.
Okay. The serpent the serpent just put doubt in the mind. The serpent went and said, did God really say? And if you go ahead and you read the Bible, God didn't tell Eve anything, God told Adam. It was Adam's job to let Eve know not to do it.
But that's clearly I'm just asking these questions because I know there's no explanation. There's no way you could possibly explain how a serpent was speaking to somebody. This is why you haven't been able to answer it. But Donna Whitfield says religion would have no followers without faith, Greg. And I think that's what it is. Your faith is very strong. And faith is essentially believing without evidence. And I wish people would
I disagree, Greg, because you say you're an atheist. You believe that there's no God without evidence.
Say again?
You say you're an atheist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means you have a belief that there is no God.
I don't believe in the God in the Bible, no.
Okay, so you have faith that there is no God because you can't prove it.
Okay, well, can you prove that there are unicorns?
Can I prove that they're unicorn? I can't prove that there wasn't.
Let me ask it like this. Do you believe in unicorns?
Yes.
Okay, you believe in unicorns. You believe in mermaids?
No.
Okay.
I believe in unicorns, don't believe in mermaids, big man. Like the sea has not even been fully discovered.
Hold on.
I will flip the argument because his argument is that I have faith that there is no God, right? Mm-hmm. You say you don't believe in mermaids. Can you prove that there are no mermaids?
No, I can't.
Okay, so how could you say you don't believe? That's the same thing. You understand? So you're doing the same thing that you're accusing me of doing. You understand? Because you said you don't believe in mermaids, but you cannot prove that there are no mermaids. So you say I say that I don't believe in God, but I cannot prove that there is no God. It's the same thing.
It's a false equivalency because you're talking about something. Because you're talking about something that people say mermaids, so therefore mermaids were here on the earth. But you're talking about something that is outside of the earth, outside of time, outside of space.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The whole premise of the argument is, your argument is, you said, and you say, okay, I don't believe that there is no God, right? I believe that there's no God, but I cannot prove that there is no God. That's the basis of your argument. So I asked you if you believe in mermaids. You said no. But I flipped your same argument against me and said, well, you cannot prove that there are no mermaids.
We having a different argument because you said that faith is based on something with no evidence.
Okay. Let me ask this.
And I was just pointing that your atheism has no evidence.
That's from a spiritual aspect. Let me ask you.
Mermaid has no evidence. Same thing. But go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
From a spiritual aspect, y'all the atheist. So you believe in a higher power, a super supreme being, right? So with that said, other religions that believe in super supreme beings, plural, do they have it wrong? So is there a possible for Norway gods or Greek mythology? Is that in the realm of reality?
No, I don't believe it is.
Why?
Because of my belief in the Bible.
Well, that's that hard for Christianity.
Because Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me.
If you are a Christian, yes.
Right? Yeah.
So if Jesus was the Son of God, and God said he was a God of gods, or the God, right? So you're trying to say there are no other supreme intelligent beings that could have existed, that could exist in the same plane as this all-being God?
They're called cherubim, angels.
Again, in the Christian umbrella, because
there
are many religions that have animals as gods and goddesses. If you look at Hinduism, Buddhism, the thing is, you believe that because you're a Christian. And this whole subject of cherry picking, okay, we have to remember that that's what you believe because that is your purview of knowledge. If you were born in India, you'd be believing something else unless a missionary came to you and converted you. And that's why you're proving what we say about cherry picking. We pick the things we wish to believe based on the knowledge that we've been given and that's been beaten into our heads. That's is human nature.
I agree.
Here's the funny thing, as a former Christian, the Trinity exists. Jesus himself was a God. He gave up his divinity and came up on earth to be a sacrifice. The Holy Spirit himself is a God. And then there is the ultimate God. So if a Trinity exists, that means there's in this vastness called universe that is unexplored, you have no definition, time and space, parallel universes. There can be other beings. So, I mean, the fact that you say, I don't believe that because I'm a Christian, that shows that you're closed off from experiences and dare to ask questions, my friend.
How am I closed off? Because I didn't say I don't believe there are things inside the universe, life on other planets or anything of that nature.
Well, you said you didn't believe in mermaids, i.e. sirens, i.e. By the way, y'all see Sirens is coming on FX. It's a new show. Check it out. Anyway, but the thing, we have to realize that we believe the things we believe based on our Christian island people perspective. Bahamians tend to be very conservative Christians, even though, unfortunately, the things we put out there don't reflect those conservative values.
Yeah, and Barry is asking, Deto, but how do you have evidence for the non-existence of a thing? I mean, you can prove. Hold on, the comment move. I mean, you can prove that it is not a particular space, but how broad can that scope realistically get? And that's why I don't like that whole argument. You know what I mean? And that's when you really don't have an argument, and so you have to just try and throw some kind of wrench in there to defend your position. And so you say, well, you can't prove of the non-existence of something, and then we could go down that rabbit hole. And like I said, I could flip that right back on you, and it's just a pointless, never-ending discussion.
But that wasn't the argument I was making, Greg. I was saying you were given a definition of faith. You said faith is having a belief in something without evidence. you said faith was having a belief in something without evidence. I was just saying I don't agree with that definition.
But let's look at what it
That's
says.
what faith is, the appearance of things not seen.
I just Googled faith, right? And you said you don't believe in that definition. Complete trust or confidence in someone or something, right? And another one is strong belief in the doctrines of religion based on spiritual conviction rather than proof, right? So you say you disagree with that definition. You disagree with the definition that I just read as well?
I agree with the first part. I don't agree with the second part.
Okay. And see, this is where it becomes problematic, right? Because, and this is what I tell Chrissy all the time, you could disagree, but that don't mean you're right. Now, it's fine. You could disagree with all kind of definitions you want to, but definitions are there for a reason. So if it's clearly stated that something is defined as this thing, then you disagreeing does not mean that you are correct. That just means that you don't subscribe to that. And it's because, like Chrissy explained, because you've been indoctrinated with this faith, you are rejecting anything that contradicts or goes against that faith or belief, whether it's true or not. And that's where it's dangerous, because I stand for truth. You understand? I stand for truth. I stand for logic. I stand for evidence. I stand for proof. That's what I stand for. And if you can't provide those things, then I can't get on board with your position or your argument. Now, you're full and free to have that position and that argument. That's all new. But when we have a discussion, I would rather have a discussion based on proof and evidence, which is why I put on Facebook, I wish when people want to make an argument, they would recite studies as opposed to biblical verses.
Well, Greg, that's for you as a scientific mind. The whole purpose of believing in something, and I'm just trying to put another spin on the argument here, is religion is rooted in your faith, in what you believe. A lot of times when you believe in something, you're not looking for scientific evidence, because a lot of people will tell you, whether they be Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, you can't intellectualize your faith. Mm-hmm. You can explain it, and like Deto is doing here, you can try and give a blueprint for it, but you can't intellectualize faith.
To go off what you were talking about with faith just now, Greg, the reason I say I don't believe with that, or I don't agree with that definition, is because, one, that's a dictionary definition, and the definition of faith in which hold on. No. The definition of faith in which I ascribe to is the definition which is in the Bible, is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Now, mind you could have faith in other things by that same definition. Like and this is a very rudimentary example.
But you explain as the biblical definition, that sounds the same to me.
But, no, and I will explain. I will explain otherwise. This, like I said, this is a rudimentary example. You have faith that when you sit down in a chair, that it won't break, that it will hold up your weight, right? It's the evidence of things hoped for. The evidence and the substance of it is when you actually go sit down. You show your faith in that. That's going to hold you up. Mind you, we've seen chairs break, but it is your faith that when you sit down in that chair, you won't fall and bust your ass on the ground.
Not if you're big ass sitting on a stool and you weigh 400 pounds. For example, I know if I step out this second floor window, and that tells me that I'm gonna drop my ass to the ground.
Exactly. And again, you could have all the faith, or you could have all the faith and you want, right? But like Chris,
right?
If you are 400 pounds and this stool is only made for 200, no amount of faith is gonna stop that chair from breaking and you busting your hip.
But there's things that
it doesn't make it true. That's my whole point. You understand it? Just because you have faith does not mean that it's true.
I'm not saying that it is. I was just pointing out why I disagree with that definition, and this is the definition of faith in which I subscribe to.
Yeah, but like I said, the definition that you gave from the Bible, it sounds the same to me. It doesn't sound any different. It's just different words. It's worded different, but it's at the end of the day, it's the same thing.
Same thing, and it's how you look at it through your lens.
Yeah.
Your lens is different. Where's Jay going?
Jay is agreeing. I think that's agreeing. That's your agreeing sign, right?
But
you guys?
That's the lens.
I got push out. Y'all get so philosophical. Yeah.
I'm still cherry picking though.
Yeah, little while. I think for me, I think I made my point. I think we're talking about the same thing and going around it, and we've already proven how people cherry pick. And this is no disrespect to you, Deto. I mean, you believe what you believe. Greg believes what he believes. I will believe what I believe. Chrissy has already come on and said this, and I'm a hypocrite. I'm brainwashed, and I'm still going along with it. And it's true. It's just the fact that, hey, listen. At the end of the day, we have this particular faith that we struggle with, we embrace, or we fight against because of where we are in this part of the world. If we were in some other part of the world, it would have been something else. But we would have been in a tougher place to fight against it because it would have been so ingrained in our society that there will be no type of choice. To go against it would be death.
Yep.
Okay. So with this religious freedom, we have a certain level of comfort that we could choose to be whoever that we want. So at the end of the day, as a spiritual person, I think there's a level of respect that we can all agree on. I respect you, Deto. I respect you, Chrissy. I respect you, Greg. Now, peace out, push out.
I respect.
Hold on, but Jay, before you go, I want to read this comment. I know you could love this. I know Chrissy especially love this one. Elizabeth says, personally, I didn't know who my husband was until he got confirmed in our church. The Holy Spirit told me as soon as he was confirmed.
I'm sorry.
You know what?
Hold on. What does she mean confirmed? Like for an Anglican, confirmed means when you are able to drink the wine and eat the What confirmed?
When you be able to drink the wine and eat the bread, Chrissy, listen, we talking about Christianity. Talking about drinking wine and eating bread.
You know what? Here's the thing. You didn't know if the quote unquote, and I'll use the union that she used. If the Holy Spirit didn't tell you who your husband was before you tied the knot, you are lost, my friend.
But the thing is, a lot of people say that.
What?
A lot of people get confirmation that this is the person for me. But I just think that you cannot be so wrapped up. You know what it's like? It's like how Bahamians, right? And I've seen this with my own eyes. Bahamians will go inside the Chinese restaurant and say, oh, why that Buddha there sitting up there like that? Bahamians will go in Taj Mahal and be like, oh, why man, you got Ganesh up there? Bahamians want to brainwash other people into believing what they believe. There's not a live and let live situation. And again, cherry picking is such because I have to constantly prove my point. That's as human beings. I have to constantly prove my point.
Stop praying damage on other kinfolk.
Well, you know, hurricane isn't
go to
coming.
Haiti and thing. Don't let it come here. Once it don't come here, I don't care where it goes. That's not the Christian.
That's us. The hurricane ain't get us.
Hey, and you know what? And that I'm glad you bring that up, Jake, because I hear this all the time, especially during hurricane season, right? When you have people, people like to, you have on one side, you have people that truly believe that, you know, God does control the hurricanes, and because you all been talking about homosexuality so much, he come to wipe you all out. And then you have the Christians that are, I consider, you know, they take the good parts of Christianity and they say, you know, I don't want to believe that God would kill these people. I don't want to believe that he's responsible for hurricanes. But you believe that God is all-knowing, all-controlling. He's in control of everything, and he has wiped out people in the Bible in the past. So
God killed plenty of people in the Bible.
Exactly. Just wiped out the entire planet. So it's like, so why? But again, and I think Barry said earlier, we did a whole show on it. It's that cognitive dissonance, because you want to believe that God is good, but you don't want to believe that he is capable of doing these things that are so terrible and so evil. And so there's a dissonance, and so you have to try and.
Greg, you got to rephrase that. You can't call it evil.
God.
You can't call it evil.
Hold on. You all had us right. Deto say, I cannot call it evil. So, Deto, you don't consider wiping out innocent taking lives of children, innocent people.
And God wiping out innocent people.
So who's, hold on. So who's
is it just when he does it?
Hold on. God,
was Hitler not evil?
Hitler was evil.
Okay.
No, Greg
wiped out an entire generation, women, children, and flock. Was that not evil? Let's
go direct, Jay. Let him address the direct. So let me ask you, who is responsible for hurricanes? What is responsible for hurricanes, Deto?
What is responsible? The weather in which God created.
Okay, so who controls the weather?
God controls the weather.
Okay, so God is not responsible for the weather that wiped out millions of people over time?
Yes, I believe that he is.
Okay, so why are you acting as though he is not responsible?
No, Greg, I am not saying he's not responsible. I'm saying that I have an issue with you attributing evil to God. The reason I say that is because we call things evil based on a human level. And if again, talking about God, a supreme being, he is outside of our purview. He's not on our level. He
Okay.
created us. He could do with us as he wishes and as he pleases.
Okay. Let me just ask you this question as a former 7-Day Adventist with some level of knowledge. All right. So God is Alpha, Omega, the beginning and again, the author of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
He created Lucifer, the light bearer, right?
Yes.
And if he knew, all being, all knowing, knew what would happen, over cocky and confident and rebelling and bring people into the world, is he
You gotta
not
repeat
the
that.
author of evil?
Hey, Jay, you got to repeat that. You got to repeat that. You break it up.
No, so being the end all, be all, knowing everything, knowing what was going to happen with Lucifer and the Satan and the fall and the rebellion and all that stuff, he still allowed it to happen, thus causing eons of sin and hurt and murder and adultery and all this stuff. Is he not the author of evil, thus the beginning and the end of it? So when you cannot cherry pick certain characteristics, based on what will make you feel good and comfortable. If you say he's the end all be on everything, and if his divine plan is to wash away all of that, right? Because that's what Revelation talks about, washing away all of that, making that so it doesn't exist, which may honestly mean taking away freedom of freaking choice, seeing that that's the root cause of everything. Doesn't that mean he's the author of evil?
Evil.
I didn't say he was. I didn't say he wasn't the author of evil. I said I had an issue. I said I had an issue attributing evil to God. Creating something and having that attribute is two different things.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay.
You know
Let me give you an example.
This is where I'm gonna sign off. I got a show to go to. See you later.
Hey, do well on your show. You remember the hurricane?
All right, Jay. Thanks, man.
Where they say the hurricane killed all the people in Thailand because they were sissy? Remember the big discussion people was having? That huge quake in Phuket, Thailand. So I said to a lot of Bahamians who were calling into the show at the time, saying that the hurricane happened because everybody was a sissy. I said, so why is it that the hurricanes are only directed to places where you believe people are homosexual? Help me to understand that. So is Puerto Rico filled with sissies? We were struck by Matthew and Jean and Francis. So does that mean, I just don't understand how religious people justify God smiting and smoting without some kind of sense attached to it. I don't get it.
When you say, I don't understand when people say, "Hey, God sent a hurricane," and because they were sissies. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, he created.
Say those things.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them are idiots.
Well, but again, see, but they can cherry pick the Bible verse that would support God being willing to do something like that.
Well, I tell Bahamians, Bahamians are so worried about these sins that they, again, cherry pick. Because the same Christian who's be calling everybody sissy, just be standing up, singing with the choir that filled with sissy.
And you're right. That's the thing that, like you say, they do cherry pick. They don't read the things right next to it. They said that the Bible says that these people won't see the kingdom of heaven. The adulterers, the idolaters, the fornicators, the effeminate, the homosexuals, so on and so forth.
So everybody fornicating, especially in the Bahamas. We are fornicating.
Everybody going to hell. That's a wrap. And I used to say this all the time, and I tell people, I say, listen, according to the Bible, nobody here going to heaven. I don't know what y'all thinking, what y'all believing, but ain't nobody going. And Deto just laid it out, the people who ain't going, and that is the entire nation. Right? That is everybody.
I in heaven right now.
It's a law.
I can't go to heaven.
Nobody got a chance. It's a wrap. But we done run past our time. Let me let you all go. I won't hold you up for too much. Thank you so much, Chrissy. You was late today, but you showed up. Like I said, I know it had to been something because your record is immaculate.
I live Thursday.
Thank you. You just be right here.
The conversation. I like
Yes.
You know, the
Yes,
difference.
Deto, I appreciate you for jumping on and providing us with your perspective to give the conversation some balance, because I don't want to just talk with people I agree with, because you don't learn too much when you're talking with people you agree with. When you disagree, that's where there's more opportunity to learn some things. And I love to learn. I ain't here to have arguments to win. That ain't nobody is. I want no competition. I want to learn. So if someone could teach me something, I'm more than willing to have those conversations, which is why I love when you join, because you provide a different perspective. We may not always agree on things, but again, we have the right to have our perspective, and the conversation is healthy, is good dialogue, and at the end of the day, we can live with respect for one another. I respect your views. Hopefully, you would respect mine, and we still have to coexist in the society, and that's all I want people to do, That's all.
Love and respect one another, man. Out on people.
Yes,
I completely agree with you, Greg. I mean, I good with talking about any topic. I mean, I get really, really excited when you talk about the Bible, simply for the mere fact that most of the times when I hear y'all talk about certain things, like certain things are said that is just misinformed. I mean, and again, it comes to a lot of people cherry picking, like when Chrissy said earlier with, people saying, in the Bible, when it was adultery, that only women get stoned. And the Bible says the man and the woman get stoned,
I got to look for them verses.
Leviticus 20:10.
Okay.
There you go. And that's what it's about.
Leviticus?
Huh?
I'll go in the hell of Leviticus. Come and do.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. I'm a person, like, I used to, when I was much younger, I used to talk and say things where just being misinformed and repeating what other people said. And a lot of times I get in trouble for that. So since then, as I am now, I do research for myself. I mean, I don't know if you see any of my Facebook posts and stuff like that. I go and I do my own research, and I post stuff what I did the research on, what I believe in,
Right. And that's good.
Good. At least you
more research-based conversations, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people oftentimes just arguing off of emotion. That's not a good conversation. That's not a productive conversation.
Religion is an emotional thing, Gregory.
Of course. And then, like I said, but we always have healthy discussions. We don't ever jump down each other's throats. It ain't no big emotional argument or nothing like that. You know what
I gotta go.
All right, Chrissy. See you later. And again, Deto, thank you so much. And people, please share the video. Please go ahead and hit that share button, tag your friends in it. If you thought it was a good, productive conversation, make sure to tag your friends, share the video, and follow us. Go to our website, goundertherug.com. We have all of our shows up there. Go ahead and follow us. Go to the website and like the Facebook page, Under the Rug Podcast. Thanks again. Thank you for your support. We appreciate you for tuning in. And thanks again, Deto. Until next time, peace.